Hello and welcome back to the practice squad. As always, I'm Jordan LaRoche, joined by Henry Standage. We kind of just want to get straight into it because I think yesterday was a record-breaking day in the NFL. The trade deadline happened, 10 moves, most in NFL history. Were you able to catch a lot of the action as was happening, or?
Yeah, I was working for the Score, like publishing, rejecting articles, so I was all over it. I felt like Schefter, but it's funny because the one thing I always give the NBA credit for, and I love the NBA and NFL probably about equally. It's like two children. But the NBA always more fun for in-season trades than the NFL, right? Historically, NBA is really fun for that. We see it happen all the time. NFL, you usually see it in the off season, like the Wilson trade to the Broncos, stuff like that. But yesterday was, and even like the prior week with the McCaffrey trade, and it was just fun seeing some players swap teams, and we're going to see them in some different jerseys week 9. So it was a fun day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way with the NHL. The NHL always has a pretty interesting trade deadline as well. But no, it was actually really cool to kind of see what happened, and I'm excited to kind of get to some of the moves that happened. And why don't we start with it wasn't really a trade, but Elijah Moore requested a trade a couple of weeks ago from the Jets. And to quote the GM, he was always going to be a New York Jet. What's your kind of take on Elijah Moore?
I knew he wouldn't be traded because he was untradeable because he is a very talented player who doesn't have a lot of production yet.
Yeah.
So you're either going to take an L, maybe you got a third-round pick for him. We took him with like one of the first picks of the second round. It's almost like a late first rounder, early second. You weren't going to get that return.
Fair enough.
So why would we take an L on talent? Because I think anyone who's seen that guy with the ball in his hands knows he can make plays, but his production's like pretty mediocre. So it was never going to happen.
Right. Yeah, so obviously it wasn't a move, but a team that I think did a lot yesterday, the Buffalo Bills. They grabbed D. Marlowe, a safety with Micah Hyde out for the season. Yeah. They need just a body to put in there. And then Nyheim Hines from the Colts as well, a player who I liked. Giving away Zach Moss, essentially trading receiving backs for the two clubs.
Yeah, I guess I have to take an L on Zach Moss. I thought he was going to be really good coming out of the draft a few years ago, but I guess not. Nyheim Hines is good, though. He's like Jonathan Taylor owners have known for years that Nyheim Hines, he's a really strong receiving back, and it'll be fun to see the Bills with a player like that who's just got reliable hands.
Yeah, and I mean they were on Alvin Kamara, but I don't think the Saints were ever really going to give him up. But no, I think it's a great pick for the Bills. It lines the load for Singletary, and it just gives them another option to already a really elite defense. And then the D. Marlowe trade, maybe not as sexy, but again, I think the Bills had to do something there just to help out Jordan Poyer, who missed last week as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Why don't I bring up the Dolphins now?
Yeah.
Because the Dolphins are now 5-0 with Tua, and they're clearly feeling themselves a little bit, shipping away a first rounder for Bradley Chubb. I was surprised somebody did the first because Chubb's contract is running out, so Denver gets a first back for a really good pass rusher. But then they also grabbed Jeff Wilson.
Yep.
They sent Chase Edmonds away. But Jeff Wilson, classic like Niners running back. Obviously, Mike McDaniel in charge of that team he'll be very familiar with Wilson.
Yeah. And a reunion with Raheem Mostert for him as well.
Yes, yeah. So grabbing Bradley Chubb, because the one thing you'd say about the Dolphins, they have good corners, Xavier Howard back there, and now just getting that dominant pass rusher off the edge, it's scary.
Yeah, and for the Broncos, I mean, maybe a little bit surprising, but I think having that first round come back was really what sold the deal for them. But Bradley Chubb's been a really big piece of that team, just maybe a little injury prone. So that's something with the Dolphins have to kind of manage going forward. But Garrett Wilson, you kind of said it.
Jeff Wilson. If they traded, if we gave them Garrett Wilson, I think I'd have a seizure on the air.
But no, again, I looking at Miami offense, that was the biggest weakness coming into this year was the running game. We weren't sure how they were going to produce. Raheem Mostert and Chase Edmonds, they haven't really had that many great games this year. So I think bringing a new face back there just gives them another layer to that offense. But the other team in Florida, the Jacksonville Jaguars, bringing in a guy who obviously not going to play the rest of the year, but I think a really exciting piece for them next year in Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, and I think it's a tricky trade because it can be a variety of different picks based on incentives.
Yeah.
But from what I was reading, it sounded like it's probably going to end up as like a fourth rounder, which is just on paper a steal. Like, of course, he's actually not just suspended for the year; he's suspended indefinitely. But I think it's one of those situations where everyone's expecting him to be cleared for next season.
Yeah.
And then Christian Kirk, Calvin Ridley, and
that's a great receiver core now.
Yeah. So that was a nice trade.
But actually funny because the bet Calvin Ridley placed on the Falcons was for them to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, and now he's a member there. But again, I think the fourth rounder, obviously, that came out of the suspension, and I don't think Calvin Ridley was going to go for anything more. But it's a great just new toy for Trevor Lawrence, who I think could use a true number one wide receiver, which they now have. And then a move that was a little surprising for me. Chicago obviously traded away a couple people at the deadline, but they also bring in Chase Claypool from the Steelers, and I just think it's just going to help Justin Fields kind of acclimate to the NFL a little bit. And at the end of the day, Claypool is a good target, can hold on to balls, so I think it's a good option for Chicago, but I don't know how much it's really going to help them.
Yeah, here's the thing. Justin Fields needs a route runner.
Yeah.
He needs like a Calvin Ridley, to be honest. Chase Claypool, he's like a good red zone target. He's like one of the best bodies, honestly, in the NFL. Like his measurables apparently are like, it's him and Calvin Johnson are in terms of like if there's some combine rating for how good your body is. But second rounder just seemed like a lot.
Yeah.
And apparently the Packers offered a second rounder as well. But the Steelers were like, well, a Bears second rounder on paper will be a better pick, so sure. I don't know. Claypool hasn't really done much in 24 months, so I wasn't crazy about a second round for him. I thought if you're giving away a second rounder, surely you could have gone somebody better. But I could be wrong. Claypool, obviously, incredible rookie year.
Yeah, but it just opens up the field for George Pickens and Deontay Johnson to really pop off in that Steelers offense. So I'm excited for that. And then T.J. Hawkinson to the Minnesota Vikings, and the Vikings have kind of been looking for an answer ever since they lost Kyle Rudolph a couple of years ago. Obviously, this is a much bigger upgrade, and I think this Minnesota Vikings offense is just scary now, and it looks like another team that's kind of considering themselves as a Super Bowl contender.
This was my favorite trade of the day.
I think so too.
And they didn't give up nothing. They gave up a second and a third in 2020. The third's in 2024, and they're getting a fourth back. Hawkinson's really good, and that Minnesota team has never had like an awesome tight end. Like Kyle Rudolph was like
he was serviceable.
Average, but there's only really like 4 or 5 good, really strong tight ends in the NFL.
Yeah.
Minnesota getting one with Thielen and Jefferson, and Kirk seems like the type of quarterback who will know how to utilize a tight end. I don't have like a stat to back that up, but just his play style, it seems like he would know how to use that safety blanket. And Hawkinson can get some yak once he gets the ball in his hands. So really, really like this trade. And they're a 5-1 team. So.
Yeah, exactly. So again, another team that just going all in this year. And then 2 teams that I was kind of surprised they didn't make moves.
I was about to hit this too.
Yeah, the Giants and the Cowboys. The Giants, I think there's a lot of pieces that they could have got. I mean, there's a lot of still question marks about this team right now, I think, just in terms of personnel. And then the Cowboys as well. They were in on Brandon Cooks. You see his tweet after
I did.
He didn't get traded.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly what it was, but pretty much saying like
it was pretty vague.
Yeah. But he obviously
I had to read it like 4 times to be like, I think I know what he's saying.
But obviously not very happy with the Texans holding on to him, but.
Was that? I was like, I don't know, maybe. But here's the thing. Brandon Cooks, like a year ago, was like, if I get traded again, I'm retiring. Because he got traded from the Saints, played like a year for the Pats. They trade him. Rams then trade him. And he's just like he's been traded. He was like traded more than any player in their first 6 years in the league. Now some teams like, we actually value you and want to cuff you up. And he's just like.
Yeah, get me out of here, man.
Yeah, just careful what you wish for.
But then the Giants, so what were your kind of thoughts on them?
I liked them staying pat because if you're a Giants fan, this is all gravy. You're essentially in what was year 1 of a rebuild with a new coach. It's going incredibly well. You're 6-2. No reason to give up like a couple 3rd-round draft picks that you can use that will be cheap players for your team for the next 4 years. Enjoy the awesome season you're having. Maybe a sneak in a wild card berth, but this Giants team's not winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I like them standing pat. Cowboys, on the other hand, I was really surprised they stood pat.
Yeah.
Because we know Jerry Jones and Cowboys. I mean, if the Eagles weren't killing everyone this year, we would be talking about Cowboys as serious NFC contenders. And we still are. They're just kind of flying a little bit under the radar, which is new for the Cowboys. Usually they're like one game over 500 and flying over the radar.
Yeah, I mean, they're a team that has a lot of noise, but I think the fact that they didn't make a move might be talked about a little bit as the year goes on. But then the Packers as well, not be able to pick up a receiver for Aaron Rodgers was a little concerning as well. But I don't think I think that they might be ready to pack in this year.
Yeah, and like I said, they did offer a second for Claypool.
Yeah.
But the Packers. I was even thinking, like, could the Jets trade for Rodgers this week at the deadline?
Really?
Yeah, and a couple other teams surprised to make a trade. I swear this is like the first year the Rams haven't made like a massive in-season trade. So that surprised me. And Brian Burns. I was expecting more of a Carolina fire sale, to be honest.
So did I. I mean,
to be fair, they could still win their division. So
yeah, I mean, we'll talk about that.
They would have been first in the division if DJ Moore hadn't taken his helmet off. But.
We'll talk about that game in a little bit, but no, 100%. I think the Panthers, a guy like Brian Burns, who's a kind of a younger guy, but that Panthers team, they should have made a couple more moves, but I don't mind them holding on to a guy like Brian Burns because they could draft just another defensive player coming up, and all of a sudden that could be a very elite defense. So I think they'll be a little patient moving forward.
Yeah, I should probably mention the Ravens getting Roquan Smith as well.
Yes.
One of the best, linebackers in the game.
Yeah, him and Patrick Queen back there will definitely scare some teams.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. All right, now time to do the weekly awards for Week 8. So, as always, we'll start with our Miller Lite Game of the Week. Award for the best game of the week from the best beer. And I have the Falcons-Panthers game.
Yeah, I mean, no real surprise there, I don't think.
Yeah, just an incredible game. It seemed like every time Red Zone went to that game, like Foreman was running in a TD or P.J. Walker was hitting a deep bomb, or Kyle Pitts actually was doing something.
Finally, yeah.
And, I mean, it's kind of two crap teams on paper, even though the Falcons have played well this year. And then you realize, like, 3 quarters into the game, whoever wins this is going to be leading the division. This is actually a really high-stakes game. And obviously it ends with the incredible deep bomb, the most air yards recorded on a pass since they started measuring it in 2016.
I did not know that.
Traveled 69 yards in the air, which is, again, the most. He threw it from the 30. DJ Moore was at the 25 when P.J. Walker let it go, and it led him perfectly into the end zone. So, and then, of course, all the drama at the end. And
yeah, I'm really that this game could won a couple awards this year. I mean, Plexico Burress. Maybe even a contender for the
could have swept it.
Yeah, exactly. Ran the table here, but I mean, we going into this week, we didn't even mention it or even think about it really. That the Carolina Panthers and the Atlanta Falcons will be competing for the NFC South title. When everyone else in the division is just kind of been really brutal. It's a bit of a cool storyline, but DJ Moore had a hell of a game. And obviously ended up costing his team the game with the excessive celebration penalty. Was it an actual just celebration, or was it a ploy to kind of keep the Carolina Panthers in check a little bit, maybe secure a little bit of a higher draft pick?
Oh, man, that should have never been a penalty. He was off the field when he took his helmet off. Like, he just caught a Hail Mary. I thought that was kind of BS. At the same time, though, it didn't turn it into a 60-yard field goal. The kicker still should have grabbed his nuts and hit a 48-yarder.
He missed one in overtime as well, right?
Yeah.
He could have won the game there, too.
Yeah.
But, no, that was a hell of a game. And then I'll go into I can't believe I'm watching it and enjoying it, the Jake Paul Award.
Yeah, this was a tough week for this because, Carolina, Atlanta, you're looking at it, I'm like, well, that's the natural choice, but that was just easily the best game. So I actually went with Bears Cowboys for this because I was expecting low-scoring game. The Cowboys haven't really gotten the offense going with Dak yet. And then basically 80 points get scored in this game. Justin Fields has definitely the best game of his career, I think. Even though it doesn't look incredible on paper, 17 for 23, rushed for 60 yards and a touchdown, and just kind of kept the Bears hanging around in this game. And then Tony Pollard.
Yeah.
So I feel like people have been waiting for this moment for like 2 years now, where it's like Zeke's out. A lot of people have conspiracized that Pollard might actually be better than Zeke. And then finally, Zeke's out for the game, and Pollard goes ape. And
He was on my bench.
yeah, tough. Yeah, just really high-scoring, fun game. Lots of points being scored. And I think the over-under was like 42 points, and we got 80, so.
Yeah, and no, I was just a monster game for Pollard. And I mean, again, I was kind of waiting for that for a while now, and he's always been the second option there. But at certain games, he's looked a lot better than Zeke, a lot more comfortable than Zeke, just running out of the backfield, getting a lot more yardage on certain plays. So maybe this is a calling moment for the Dallas Cowboys, where maybe we give Tony a few more touches.
Yeah. Okay, what do you have for this game?
I had the Broncos and Jaguars, the London game.
I think that's the right call, actually.
Yeah, and it did take this game.
Not that it was that good,
No.
but I expected so much worse.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, obviously, it took this game a little bit to get going. And being a London game, I don't think it really mattered because I wasn't watching football before. 10 o'clock on Sunday anyway. And but the last 5 to 6 minutes in that game were just electric. Big plays going both ways. A lot of third down chances for both teams. And then K'Wan Williams getting the game-winning interception on that final drive with a huge cast on his arm.
Yeah.
Just a pretty cool moment there. But again, just poor quarterback play on both sides. Makes it a little more fun to watch. Maybe a little agitating.
It was also a London game, and those are usually terrible. I was like, holy cow, the Broncos in London could be like the first ever 3-0 game ever.
And then the Jaguars, a team that everyone talks about relocating to London as well.
Yeah.
So a little bit of a good storyline there.
Yeah, that game. Well, the fourth quarter was actually really good, and man, Trevor Lawrence is not good in these like clutch situations. Though it seems like he throws a terrible pick anytime. Like there's sort of like a 2-minute drill, or he gets into the red zone late.
And only 130, 140 yards for Trevor Lawrence on Sunday. So again, he's kind of hit a really rough patch this year.
They've lost 5 straight now.
Yeah,
I think they were 2-1, and they're 2-6 now.
That's a harsh reality.
Shakespeare in Love for game that was just like begging for a nap.
Yeah.
Titans Texans.
We had this.
Okay. There was honestly not much memorable from this game other than the incredible stat that Derrick Henry has rushed for over 200 yards 4 straight games against the Texans. Which is like, I wonder if anyone's ever had a streak like that against one team before.
Probably not. And it's probably one of the more dominant just stat lines in sports. Across all of them. So, he's just remarkable to watch. And then having Malik Willis start, I remember before the year, I was kind of calling for him to potentially start over Tannehill if Tannehill has a bit of a shaky start. I think I'm taking all that back.
He threw 10 times, and Derrick Henry rushed 32 times.
I think he only completed about 6 of those as well, for about 40 to 80 yards, somewhere around
55 yards.
Yeah, so just a brutal quarterback play, and it wasn't like in the Broncos Jaguars game where that game was at least there was some offense there, but with this one, just a really, really dry game.
And Derrick Henry is, for the 5th straight year, I think, leading the league in yards per game.
Right.
So it seems like we're all waiting on his downfall, but as the season goes on, he just beats up, especially the crap teams. He just beats them up still.
But he's always a guy who always seems to get better as the year kind of goes on too.
Yeah.
Maybe it's
week 1, he's always like 60 yards, and we're like,
maybe this is the year, and then. But no, it's really remarkable what he's able to do. So, the shooting themselves in the foot, the Plexico Burress Award.
Oh man,
who do you have?
Oh, I had the Jets, and I think I can make a pretty compelling case.
Yeah.
So the Jets came out like guns blazing. We're up 10-3. We're moving the ball. Zach Wilson had like 130 yards passing in the first quarter. We look great. And then we got a big fourth down stop late in the second half to get the ball back on our 40. Can we score points? Got 2 possessions for the half. And honestly, at this point, we look like a much better team, more talented players. And Zach Wilson throws a terrible pick. So Pats get the ball back in our half. Mac Jones throws it to us. Pick 6. I'm like punching the wall at him. I'm like, this is the best. The softest roughing the passer call. John Franklin Myers has done this a couple of times this year. Pick 6 comes back because he pushed a guy out, Mac, after he threw up. Would have been pick 6. So instead of 17-3, it's 10-6 at half because they get a field goal. And then Zach Wilson just takes over the game in like a bad way. 2 of the worst picks you'll ever see. One, him trying to throw it out of bounds, doesn't put enough juice on it. Like, how the hell does that happen? Picked, and then just like rolling out, doesn't see anything, and just lobs it to the Patriots secondary. Nobody near it. Wilson screws us. It was 22-17 final score, but really it was a garbage time TD late. We're better than the Pats, man. We just didn't have any sort of competent QB play for 2 quarters.
Yeah, and the Bill Belichick always has a couple of these games every year, and he always seems to game plan really well against younger quarterbacks. He uses a lot of disguises. He likes to cover up man, cover up zone. It just makes young quarterbacks just really uncomfortable. So I think a lot of that played into Zach Wilson's game. But at the end of the day, it's kind of is this the turning point for Zach Wilson? Is this a momentum crusher for them?
Yeah. All the Jets fans are out on Wilson after this because now we're talking like 18th, 19th game of his career, and you just flat out lose us a game, not because, I don't know, the defense played awesome, but because you literally were just throwing the ball away. Easy passes, 5-yard crossing route, way over his head for a pick. Trying to throw it out of bounds, pick. Like, he lost us this game. We were the stronger team. And now, as Jets fans, we're looking at our team and going, our defense is awesome. We can hold any team under 25 points. Our ground game's good. Look, we could have used Breece Hall, but James Robinson, Michael Carter get done. We got weapons. If Zach Wilson's going to lose us games, 1, let's go to Mike White, and 2, let's find the guy in the offseason.
Yeah, do you look at drafting a guy or trade?
I'd like to trade for a guy. I'm done with these draft prospects. That
All right,
doesn't help that Geno looks like an MVP either all of
Yeah.
a sudden.
I won't keep pounding you on the Jets. Let you cool down a little bit over there. I'll go with my award. The Bengals versus the Browns, and for me, the kind of meaning for this was the Bengals who have been on this kind of role for the last little bit. Obviously, without Jamar Chase this week, and the offense just totally implodes on itself.
Yeah.
It looks like Joe Burrow just can't live without Jamar Chase, and look at the 2 guys who previously the past few weeks have had really strong games, but coming into this game against the Browns, T. Higgins 49 yards, 3 for 6 receptions. Tyler Boyd 28 yards, 3 for 5 receptions. The Browns defense came to play, but at the end of the day, when you're the Bengals and you're Joe Burrow, and this is a division game against the Browns, a team that you should beat, you have to put out a better effort than they did on Monday.
This was my ruined game, the Sammy Paradise Award for the game that ruined the most. Teasers, parlays, and because Chase goes out, you see that line go to -3. Bengals have probably been the most firepowered offense in the league the past couple weeks. I was like, -3, let me take that. The Browns have been slumping for a month now. And then they just the Browns just kicked their butt. It was, I believe, 24-0 in the third quarter at one point. Bengals couldn't move the ball. They got some garbage points late in the fourth quarter, but this one was over quick. But I think a lot of people who maybe lost money on Sunday were trying to make it back on this game, or this was the final leg of their parlay. Bad loss for the Bengals.
Yeah, and they always kind of do this.
But I will be taking them again this week.
Probably. But they always kind of do this in the middle of the year. They just they put together a string of really good games, and then just they put up a dud against someone in their division or a really weak team. I think they'll be able to bounce back. And how long was Jamar Chase out for again? Do you know?
Chase, so he didn't go on IR, so that would have been 4 to 6 weeks. So I think I think there are buys after this week.
It is, yeah.
So I think he could maybe try to return after the bye, or maybe like a week after that.
Yeah, because I mean they need him, man. I mean that was just abysmal.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Oh yeah, you got your.
I got my I'm ruined, and I went for the Raiders and Saints. And
This is a good pick.
And a whopping 74% of the public's money.
Because it was a pick 'em.
It was, but still, 74% of the money on the Raiders over the Saints, and they get shut out.
Trap. Good job by Vegas.
Yeah, I guess, but
Saints have been terrible lately. I don't know what happened.
yeah, and even with Andy Dalton back there again,
I got crushed on this one.
Yeah, me too. But a point I wanted to bring up with this game was every other quarterback around the league who brought in an elite wide receiver over the last few years have improved their game. I mean, Kyler Murray with D-Hop. I'm drawing blanks.
Somehow Tyreek, the Dolphins use him better than the Chiefs.
Yeah, exactly.
Who would have thought?
Exactly. And even Tua is looking really good this year. But for the Raiders, bringing in the quote-unquote number one receiver in the NFL, and Devontae Adams, Derek Carr I think he's played worse this year than he did last year. Yeah,
and it's because Josh McDaniels stinks. And now people are looking back and going, that Broncos team with Tebow was his only good team he's ever coached, which is bizarre. Looks like McDaniels is an awesome coordinator, but not that dude.
No. So I don't think the Raiders are going to do anything immediately. Probably not even this offseason. I think they give him another year to right this ship a little bit. But
yeah, and it's because they've had this amazing year out of Josh Jacobs. But Darren Waller's done nothing this year. Adams, huge step back production-wise.
And I think it all comes down to Derek Carr here.
I don't have anything to say about the Saints. Like I said, they can beat any team. They can lose to any team. They're just riding the roller coaster all year.
That's true even with this weaker roster. So and I believe those are all the awards. Any other games you want to talk about from the weekend? And for the last segment of the show, we're just going to look ahead to Week 9 of the NFL schedule, go through each of the spreads, look at our favorite bets, and see what's going on around the NFL. So who do we have on Thursday night, Henry?
We got Eagles-Texans, which is not an awesome one, but the Eagles are pretty fun to watch. This one could get out of hand real quick.
Yeah.
So classic 2-touchdown line, -14 for the Eagles in Houston. I'm going to take the Eagles.
Yeah, there's one or two of these, one or two more of these this week as well. So not a great week, but yeah, I'm going with Eagles -14 there too.
It seems like one of those games you take the Texans and then it's 10-0 in the first quarter and you're like, shoot.
Yeah. But we'll go straight to Sunday with the Chargers and the Falcons.
Tough one.
It is. I mean, the Chargers haven't looked good the last few weeks. I think they're coming off a bye, I believe, right?
Yes.
Yes.
But Mike Williams is out and Keenan Allen's hamstring. Somehow Brian Robinson got shot and recovered quicker than Keenan Allen's hamstring.
Yeah, there's a few guys who recover quicker than, but... And I mean, the Chargers, Justin Herbert. I think we're getting to a point with him where is he the guy in Los Angeles?
Yeah.
I mean, because he's been good, but this year without a ton of help, he's kind of been looking okay.
His ribs are jello.
That's true. I did forget about that. I'll be a little lighter on him.
And also, their coach is really weird. He's comfort on fourth downs on his own 20 all the time.
They've always done that though.
Yeah. It's just I don't know. I think Herbert I got no worries about, but this Chargers team I got lots of worries about. For that reason, I like Falcons money line +150.
Really?
Yeah. It's in Atlanta. The Falcons have just been giant killers all year. The Chargers look really bad. I don't want to lay 3.5 points with them. I think this is honestly a toss-up, so why not take the +150?
Yeah, I was looking more at the spread, but yeah, maybe. But I do like the Falcons spread at +3.5 there.
And I like under 50 as well.
Yeah, that one too. And then the Dolphins and the Bears. What do you got here?
This is a tricky one. So Dolphins -4.5 in Chicago. I guess I'll go Dolphins because I don't really want to just only lay +4.5. I thought this line would be more like 6. But the Bears have been playing a lot better recently, even though, like, yes, they lost by 20 points this week, but just that the offense is moving the ball.
Yeah.
They beat the Patriots in Foxborough recently. So I wish this line were like 7, and maybe I'd rip the Bears, but I'm going to take the Dolphins.
Yeah, and
Again, they're 5-0 with Tua. They always put points on the board.
yeah, I was just trying to find Khalil Herbert's line because he's been a monster for the Bears the last few weeks, and I still like the Dolphins here. Maybe an over. What's the over here? 45.5. That's not terrible, and both these teams just put up a lot of points. Can put up a lot of points. It's just a matter if they will.
Yeah, I'd like to know if Bradley Chubb's going to play.
I could see it.
I guess it doesn't matter as much for a defender, right? They're like,
Yeah.
third down, go get the QB, Bradley.
I think probably more so as an outside linebacker or a pass rusher. It probably doesn't matter as much, but maybe a corner. But no, I'm probably going Dolphins here too.
Panthers, Bengals, another tough one. So Carolina plus 7.5 in Cincinnati. Obviously, Panthers playing a lot better recently since the McCaffrey trade. Looks like Steve Wilkes probably is able to get more out of that team than Matt Rule was.
I think that's probably the key to their.
I think I'm going to take plus 7.5. Hope that line moves down to 7. Maybe hit Bengals, and I just don't really want to lay over a touchdown with the Bengals.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking the other way. I think the Panthers pounced on this weaker this kind of banged up Cincinnati team without Jamar Chase, and maybe I take that plus 6.5 instead of 7.5 with the Panthers, who again just kind of put up a lot of points on a pretty solid Falcons defense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and maybe look at the over 42 there.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah.
Packers at Detroit. Packers minus 3.5. Seems like Aaron Rodgers is pretty reliable in these smaller spreads against division opponents.
Yeah.
Detroit played a lot better this week than recent weeks.
Having Swift back is going to help them a lot too.
The Packers-Bills game kind of felt like it was over by the second quarter. I mean, they only lost by 10. They actually covered the spread. But I'm going to be moving this line down a point to minus 2.5 and taking the Packers. I think Detroit's defense, the Packers will actually be able to move the ball.
Yeah.
I trust Rodgers in these division games still, so I'm going to take Packers, but I will move the line down to just a field goal.
Yeah, I don't trust the Detroit Lions right now. I don't trust the defense or really the offense either because it looks like it's totally dried up that well. So, probably Packers 2.5. I don't know if I'd even take an over in this game because I don't think the Detroit Lions offense is reliable enough.
Yeah, exactly. I feel the same way.
And then we go to the Raiders and the Jaguars.
Good luck.
And Raiders are actually the favorite here, but I think this game is probably just a toss-up at this point.
Yeah, this is the stay away of the week.
Maybe Jaguars 1.5 plus 1.5, maybe, but even then, I think this is gonna be a total
under
crapshoot.
48.
Yeah,
That's my biggest take.
Yeah.
Under 48. Yeah, I like that. I'm going to be hitting that probably as soon as we're done here.
yeah, exactly. The Colts and the Patriots.
Okay, lock of the week coming up.
I think so too. I think Bill Belichick plans really well against Sam Ellinger, another young quarterback.
In New England.
It could be cold there too, so I'm going with New England here.
Yeah,
minus 5.5.
Yeah, in New England, big time. I'd like to see the Pats point total as well.
Yeah.
If it's in that like 22, 23 range, I might hit that as well.
Probably will
Patriots
be.
total over 22.5. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, I think the Patriots maybe not handily take the game, but I think they will cover the spread here. And sorry, Henry.
We
got the Bills and the Jets.
And if we could have just beat the Pats. So we're on our bye week after this game, so the Pats loss just sucks because you got the Bills, and then I don't know, just tough one.
Yeah, minus 12.5 for the Bills. over 47, minus 650 for the Bills. Probably taking the Bills with this one.
Yeah. I saw the line opened at 13. What's it at? Sorry?
12.5.
I saw that you can get the Jets plus 20 at pretty decent odds, so maybe that's the move. Like I said, this Jets D is legit. It's just, can they put up the 15 points they're going to need to cover this?
Right.
Honestly, I kind of like the Jets here. I don't know if they get blown out.
It looks like the plus 20. I can't see it on my screen. It's kind of blocked out, but it'll be around minus 280.
The plus 20, yeah, it's minus 280.
Yeah, so again, that's not terrible. I may maybe not be
start the game up 20-0.
I think the Jets will be starting the game with a 20-point handicap. So, yeah, I think we should move on from that.
Yeah.
The Vikings at the Commanders, and the Vikings bringing in T.J. Hawkinson, going up against another week without Carson Wentz, I believe. But I like Taylor Heineke. I said that on here, and
yeah,
I think maybe even an over 43.
I'm taking the Commander spread here, and I don't think I have the cojones to take them plus 155. I wish it were if it were like plus 180, totally. But Commanders, I don't know, they're gonna fight, man. And the Vikings are kind of due to blow one of these soon.
Yeah, exactly. Kirk always does. But with the
revenge game for Kirk.
Yeah, but some news out of Washington over the last day or so. Dan Snyder is looking to sell the team finally. He's hired.
Good vibes in Washington.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's really happy right now. So maybe this is their big coming out party.
Yeah. And they're sneaking in that NFC wildcard race as well.
They always kind of are.
4 NFC East playoff teams potentially.
I think at this point you just start Taylor Heineke.
Yeah, I think so too. Seahawks cards. They're begging you to take the Seahawks money line here.
Yeah.
It's a stay away from me.
I'm still probably taking the Seahawks, man.
I think they're good. Arizona's such a weird team.
Call of Duty's out.
Yeah, oh, true.
Came out on Friday.
Okay, maybe. I don't know. Something about this game makes me nervous. Maybe over 50, because this could totally be like a 30 to 27 game.
But I do like the Seahawks here. I mean, Geno Smith's just...
They want you to take it.
Yeah, and God damn it, I might do it.
I'm going to take the Cards minus 2.5 and feel terrible about it.
I don't know if you'll be hitting that, but the Rams and the Buccaneers. The Rams are just kind of... they just look dry right now, totally stale. They were really quiet yesterday at the trade deadline. But so is Tampa Bay, man. They've been just as bad and just painful to watch.
Yeah,
really.
Seriously.
I think this is probably just a stay away
for me.
This
is a stay away, just because I think it probably is a 3-point game, so 3 is the right spread.
I just don't know for who.
Yeah, it's just... two teams that, again, didn't do anything at the trade deadline, don't have a ton of momentum at the moment. The Niners just own the Rams. It's crazy.
Yeah.
8 straight regular season victories over them.
Yeah, I mean,
obviously the Rams got them to go to the Super Bowl last year, but
no, the 49ers just have them figured out. Because, that game was brutal.
Yeah. I think if I had to do something, I would just take Bucks money line.
Yeah, I'd probably take the Rams spread. Just have that cushion, but
but I think so too. Maybe try to hit it perfect.
Yeah.
Rams spread, Bucks money line, Bucks win by like 2.
And then our prime time on Sunday could be interesting, could be a dud. It's probably gonna be a
slate
dud.
Sucks, man.
Yeah, is it Malik Willis again?
Looks like it.
Yeah, so minus 12.5 for the Chiefs over the Titans, minus 600, 46.5 over under. I don't think I like any of these, realistically.
I'll take the Chiefs, but at home, off a bye. I think Andy Reid's like the greatest bye week coach ever statistically, so sure, I'll take the Chiefs. If Tannehill plays, though, you don't really want to be stuck with like a 13-point margin of victory needed.
I'd say wait to take that game.
Yeah.
And then our Monday night, Baltimore and New Orleans.
They really want you to take Baltimore here, and I'm gonna do it.
I mean, why not? I mean,
Surprised it's not 3.5.
That's the only thing. That's my only kind of caveat here.
Baltimore -3 in New Orleans. I guess I should say.
Over under 47.5, potential under, I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
But for the spread here, I think I'm going Ravens. I just think I think they clear 3.
Yeah, I'll take Ravens as well here. I'll just move it to -2.5 though, because the -3 is -105 anyways. So I'll take the -120 at -2.5. Maybe put it with like an under 50.
Yeah, I could do that. What's the line in under 50?
Well, with the two things parlayed or just that?
Just that.
-145.
It's not terrible.
Put Ravens -2.5 with it though, and we're talking what? Oh, no same game parlays on this website. So.
Yes. We won't mention who, but
yeah.
We'll check. We'll check that out. Maybe put something out on Twitter or something. But that is all the games.
Nice.